Hi guys, and welcome back to the Early Bird Photo News. A few weeks ago I shared the intel with you that Canon will most likely not release an R1 or an R5 Mark II this year, but 3 awesome zoom lenses instead. And now it looks like we know which one the first of these zoom lenses will be. In the past I've speculated that Canon may replace some of the EF prime lenses with RF zoom lenses, and that seems to be exactly the case, because the next lens we're going to see is a 100 to 300 f2.8 lens. Personally, I think the trend of replacing prime lenses with zoom lenses, if they have the same image quality, is pretty awesome, and that's exactly what that new lens seems to offer. Canon rumors didn't know about the weight of the lens, but I have a feeling it will be right around 2.5 kilos or just above that, so very hand holdable and nice and lightweight. So what's not to like about a lens like that? You guessed it, the price. According to Canon rumors and some other sources, it will come in at around $9,500. Very, very pricey for a lens like that. And that made me think, who's a lens like that for? Definitely for anyone who's currently using a 2.8 300mm lens, because apparently they're not giving up anything in image quality but gain a lot of flexibility, because now they can go back all the way to 100mm and still have the 300mm at f2.8 available as well. So I think this can be quite interesting, because you may actually replace another lens with that lens, and it means you can only take one lens into the field with you instead of two. If you're a sports shooter, for instance, I think you may be able to not take a 70 to 200mm f2.8 lens and only take this 100 to 300mm lens. So in that regard, even the price might make a little bit more sense if it means that you can actually replace one of your other lenses with this lens. What do you guys think about a lens like this and the trend of replacing prime lenses with zoom lenses? I think it's very exciting, because it will likely also mean that we will see some other awesome zoom lenses down the track, and possibly even something that will replace an EF 500mm lens with another zoom lens, maybe a 200 to 500mm lens, which would be awesome in my opinion. Even though Canon rumors recently posted that they think there will likely be an RF f4 500mm prime lens. So I guess we have to wait and see, but I think it's definitely an exciting trend to see highly capable zoom lenses that are very fast, like f2.8 or f4, with awesome image quality, and hopefully later on also with built-in teleconverters. I'm currently packing for an outback trip I'm going to go on in a few days, and this will actually be the first time in a little while that I have to use my own camera gear. The last few weeks I always had some loan gear here, like the Canon lenses, the R6 Mark II, the Z9, and then that awesome 600mm DC lens. So it will actually be interesting and kind of relaxing to be out in the field just with my own gear, where I can simply focus on the photo taking rather than also thinking, how's the gear doing, what are the settings, how can I get the best B-roll of myself. So hopefully the birds will get the message as well and play along and give me some nice images that I will share with you afterwards. According to Sony Alpha rumors, it will be a big year for Sony, with 5 or 6 cameras to be announced in 2023. We've already seen one camera, the ZV-E1, so that means we might see actually 5 more cameras. One of which will hopefully be, and surely will be, an A9 Mark III, a nice, powerful and fast camera with hopefully great and improved autofocus in photo and video. I think this will be a very exciting camera for us wildlife shooters, especially if it has more than 24 megapixels. And I think this will be the real kicker in this camera. Canon, for some reason, seems to be obsessed with the 24 megapixels and kind of put it in every new camera they're releasing. So I think if the A9 III has more than 30 megapixels, it will be a fantastic alternative to an A1 camera body with better autofocus most likely, better video autofocus especially, and just an all-around fantastic camera at a slightly better price than the A1 as well. Speaking about the A1, I really hope that we will see some firmware updates for that camera soon, because at some stage you'd think Sony would want to update their flagship camera so it can do what the lower end cameras can do already. Apparently Sony is also planning to release another APS-C camera, something they haven't done for a few years. So I wonder if they follow Canon's lead with the R7 to put it into the mid or lower sort of end of cameras, or whether they will spec it up a little bit and make it a bit more upmarket. I've used some of the APS-C Sony cameras in the past, and I was never a big fan of them. I thought they were too small and not very easy to use. So hopefully they can improve the design and the body slightly and make it an awesome camera. By the way, I don't make any money of this or I'm affiliated with any hard drive companies, but looking around currently, there are some amazing sales going on for external SSD hard drives. So if you're in the market for one, it might be a good idea to have a look around, because there's some crazy sales on at the moment with huge savings. Last Sunday I posted my Nikon 600mm TC review, and I must admit I really loved that lens. And the thing that impressed me the most about it was not the built-in teleconverter, but the image stabilization. In combination with the Z9, it simply did not move. I could do handheld video at 840mm and there was simply no shake, and that really blew me away and actually opens up a lot of opportunities in the field. So I'm still thinking about that lens. I'm not ready to make the switch just yet, but it's definitely tempting. I'm just kind of holding out to see what's on the horizon with Canon, but I do think about that lens a lot. Overall, when editing the images out of the Z9, I found the Nikon colors quite pleasing and easy to work with, especially in sunlight. In cloudy conditions, I found it a little bit harder, but in sunlight, the colors were beautiful and quite easy to work with. Not all the images were easy to edit, because in this lorikeet example, I actually had to clean up a little bit of a garden shed and extend the perch a little bit, but also with my masterclass workflow, that turned out pretty well in the end. My favorite scene was actually this black-winged stilt I found on an empty beach. I've never seen these birds on a beach before, so I was really excited about this opportunity. And I actually saw the bird a day before, but couldn't take any photos, so I returned the next day and got some of the shots by holding the Z9 and the 600mm TC lens right above the water to get the nice blue background. And then I got this shot of the stilt walking on the beach, and I just like how you see its massively long legs. And if you're not quite sure how to get the most out of your own RAW files, I would love to help you with my ProSets and Masterclass that will make your life so much easier. With my ProSets, I allow you to transform your RAW files with just one click, and in my Masterclass, I teach you everything you need to know in Photoshop to master image editing. So if that's of interest to you, make sure to check this out in the description. Talking about Nikon, it looks like it will be a busy year for them as well, with a lot of lens releases on the card, 6 of them actually. Funnily enough, they just released one of the lenses, a 12 to 28mm DX lens. So it's just for the crop cameras. But what's interesting about this lens is that it has like a motorized zoom. So you don't actually have to turn a zoom ring on the lens, but you can just kind of press a button basically and it will zoom for you, which is great for video, for instance. The most interesting lens for all of us, of course, is the Nikon 200 to 600mm lens that will hopefully come out at some stage this year. And that's definitely a lens I would love to get my hands on. If it's as good or close to the Sony lens at a similar price, I think Nikon will be on to a real winner. Of course, what would be ideal with a 200 to 600mm lens is a lighter camera body that's still very capable, and I hope that will be the Z8. I've heard from different sources that I cannot vouch for at all that we will likely see that camera sometime in May. So while I'm not sure that's true or not, it would definitely be awesome to see Nikon launch a camera that is pretty much as capable as the Z9, but in a smaller body and lighter weight. I think that's what's really missing from the lineup. Whenever I take the Nikon Z9 into the field, I have a great time with it. It's a little bit more complicated to use, but the autofocus has definitely come a long way with the latest firmware updates. What I don't overly enjoy with that camera is that it's quite heavy. It's substantially heavier than all other mirrorless cameras that I've used to date. And hypothetically, if I switched to Nikon right now, I would basically have to buy 3 Z9 cameras, and that would weigh me down substantially compared to traveling with one R3 and 2 R5 camera bodies. So something like a Z8 is definitely needed. I read something interesting about the R8 because it said that it was in stock at several camera stores, and that made me wonder, did Canon produce a lot of these cameras and that's why they're in stock? Or is the R8 not as popular and that's the reason there's some available right now without pre-ordering? Because at the moment, most other camera bodies that are newly released from all brands are not right away available. Why don't you check out some of my other videos now, like my Nikon 600mm TC review or the Canon R6 Mark II review. I'm gonna head back onto the computer editing some videos, including this one right now. So I hope that you will enjoy your day and my other videos, and I will see you very soon. Bye! And don't forget to subscribe. See ya!